Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. Hey, sister, how you doing?
Hey, sister, over here fumbling with stuff, but I am so excited. I just want you to know I'm going to set the stage now. I think this conversation will go longer than an hour. I'm just saying.
And it's highly likely because I know we have some verbose, loquacious individuals on the line this evening. Hello. But first of all, you got to tell me what's all of this.
Hello, somebody. Just decided to do something fun today. We're straight out the dough.
Straight out the dough. So if y'all don't know, you see I have on my Dough Girl shirt today. So we're representing today for the dough. If you don't know, now you know. And dough is for Thibodaux, Louisiana. We have our super friend Jody who watches us every week. Y'all say hey to Jody.
Hey, Jody.
Hey, Jody.
So she's tuning in, watching tonight, and I know we'll have more folks coming in. So we want you
scared, girl. They might be scared.
Ain't nothing to it but to do it, as they say. So I have a little something in my glass so we can have a good conversation. But first thing I want you to do is I want you to like this. I want you to share this on your social media platform. So whether you're viewing us on Facebook or YouTube, we want you to share this conversation because it's a conversation you don't want to miss. If you represent tonight from Thibodaux, we need you to join the conversation in the comments. We need you to let us know who's here and get involved in this discussion because we have a lot to say. And I'm going to start. I'm going to do my best to introduce y'all, but I'm really going to let y'all do most of the introducing yourselves. But I got to start with my classmate. The class, and not you, Stephen. I got to start with Makiva first. So, my classmate, class of 1991, Miss Makiva Johnson. Hey, Makiva, how you doing?
Hey, how are you? Can I call you Kitty on here?
Yes, you can call me Kitty. Yes, you can call me Kitty. So look, we have Adele George watching. Hey, Adele.
Hey, Adele.
We got Kiana is watching. Hey, Kiana. We got Denise Toops is in the house watching tonight. We got Brandy Billico. He's watching. Hey. So Makiva, tell the folks a little bit about who you are and what you're doing these days.
And wait, before you start, sister, your pearls, I love them, but they are clinking a little bit. I just wanted you to know. Okay.
Well, let me take the pearls off because I don't need no clinkly clack now.
Oh, Bridget's here also from Thibodaux. Hey, Bridget.
Hey, Bridget.
All right.
All right.
Well, I am a 1991 graduate of Thibodaux High School. While at Thibodaux High, I was in the band. I played clarinet, and I was also a flag twirler in the marching band. After that, I went on to Grambling State University, Graham fam, and I majored in political science. 1995 graduate of Grambling State University, and then I went on to Tulane School of Law, graduated in 2000. I am currently living in Shreveport, Louisiana, where I am doing personal injury law. I've practiced family law and medical malpractice for the last 18 years. I'm a former assistant attorney general for the state of Louisiana, and now I'm currently working in personal injury law. So I've been practicing for 20 years now.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight, Makiva.
Thank you for having me.
This is so much. Okay, so then I'm going to my next classmate, Stephen Owens. I gotta do my classmates first. I love the rest of y'all, but I gotta do us first. Okay. What's up, Stephen?
What's up? I am Stephen Owens. I'm a 1991 graduate of Thibodaux High School as well. Moved to the neighborhood, Layton neighborhood. Shout out to the hills.
To the back of Kmart.
Back of Kmart. I moved there I think I was in 8th grade actually, but I still ended up going to high school in Terrebonne Parish for my sophomore year. Then I came to Thibodaux. I wised up, came back to Thibodaux. But I went to Dillard University my freshman year of college. Ended up transferring to Southern, which is home, was home, became home, and still is. Graduated from Southern in electrical engineering. From there, worked a little bit in Louisiana, then moved to Houston, the land of a little more opportunity than Louisiana by far. And worked in the space program, then also in the oil and gas program, and now back into space, working for Northrop Grumman as a reliability engineer in satellite program. So been doing a little bit of everything within engineering. So that's what I'm doing.
Boy, them boys was smart, right?
Shout out to the Southern University College of Engineering. I'm just saying.
Oh, yes.
Hello.
Well, sister, I'm gonna let you take over, and I'm gonna let you introduce, because so Oliver is between us. I'm gonna introduce Oliver because Oliver is between us, and then I'll let you introduce Nicole. How about that? So one Mr. Oliver Queen, as we were preparing for the show, I was trying to describe him, and all I could say is he's a percussion aficionado, but that's only one of his many, many talents. But this brother has served our country in the U.S. Navy, and he has some badass children at West Point.
Bad, not
good, bad.
I'm talking about some badasses, right? Okay, driving a Tesla.
Yeah, well,
how about that?
That's a whole story behind that.
There's a story behind that, but all I know is this: them babies are representing, and they got their roots in the dough. So, Oliver, tell us who you are. What's been going on with you?
Okay, well, welcome, fam, and hello, Thibodaux. How y'all doing? Oliver Queen, graduate of Thibodaux High School, 1992. I left Thibodaux, joined the Navy in August of '92, and served 23 years. My primary job was I was a submarine guy, so I served on 6 nuclear-powered submarines, working my way from E1, became a chief petty officer, which is kind of like the senior enlisted, and then got selected for commissioning as a naval officer, and then I retired after 23 years. So during that time, I went to a myriad of schools, namely Harvard University, Johns Hopkins, the Naval War College, and took some courses at Stanford, University of Massachusetts Amherst, and living in Northern Virginia, got our own businesses.
Uh-oh.
What?
Just when we got to the good part.
That's when we get to the good part. Oh, Oliver. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're gonna keep it moving. Oliver, if you probably gonna realize that you have frozen and we don't hear you right now, but we're gonna keep it moving. But you gotta come back and tell us some more of this good stuff. All right. So Chrissy, I'm gonna toss it at you and let you introduce Nicole.
All righty. Well, then I am privileged to introduce my very good friend who also is in my class from Thibodaux High School, the class of 1995. As we said in the pre-show, probably like the 4th Black cheerleader at Thibodaux High School. Just always been great, wonderful, love her. So Nicole, who are you, girlfriend?
Hello. I am Nicole Perkins Greenwood. I am from New Orleans, moved to Thibodaux in 4th grade. That's when I met Chrissy, and went to Thibodaux High School and graduated in '95, moved on to Spelman College, and then transferred to Southern thereafter. Graduated in 2000, and then went to Pepperdine University for my master's, 2 master's degrees, one in psychology, the other in clinical psychology with an emphasis in marriage and family therapy. I am currently a marriage family therapist licensed in 3 states, California, Louisiana, and Florida. I am a military wife. My husband and I are stationed here in Florida. He's coming up on 20 and is about to retire, so good for him. And I am a military family life counselor for the kids in the city, at the school, middle school, that are military affiliated. And then I also work private practice doing online virtual therapy for individuals in California. And I'm very, very, very happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yay! Thank you for being here. So you guys, we are so excited to have you. So one of the things we decided to do is that every first Sunday of the month, we're going to make that our hot topic show. Because we always talk a little bit about hot topics, but we usually have guests on. And we were like, there's no better time to really bring some guests on to talk about hot topics than today, and we've been dreaming about this show. So I'm just so excited because we see all of our comments and posts and shares back and forth, especially in the social media world. We have let's see, some more folks watching. We got Fred Billazon who's tuning in. We got Dina Williams, Thibodaux in the house representing. So we want to bring you all on to have this conversation that we normally have in the hot topics. And there's so many things that we want to talk about. And I don't even know where to start. Should we just start talking about, let's talk a little bit about our background, where we came from, our hometown, and why leaving has served us well. So let's talk a little bit about getting out the dough. So I love home. I don't know about you. You probably love it too. But I also have, and I've shared about this, I have this conflict, this internal conflict when I go home sometime, because y'all know where we live, although they're not as plentiful, we were basically in the middle of the sugarcane fields, and and the actual refinery is still within a stone's throw from our home, and it's sugar season now. So if you go down to South Louisiana, you're going to see a lot of trucks and grinding. But I know that with what the history is of you said Layton or back at Kmart, it's the Layton subdivision, but it actually was for Layton Plantation, right? So I always have this internal conflict. So one thing I noticed, most of us went to HBCUs. Everybody on this line right now went to HBCUs. So what happened, and what prompted you to get out the dough?
So who you gonna start with, sister?
I don't know. Who wants to? I'm gonna let y'all. Who wants to go first?
I will go first, and then I'll let others, and I'll try to make it quick. I will say, again, my good friend Nicole is really responsible for me going to Southern University. I had resigned myself, for lack of better words, to going to Nichols because it was there in our hometown. Nothing against Nichols, so I don't want nobody telling us, "Oh my gosh, she down in Nichols." No, but at that time in my life, to be completely honest, I was tired of feeling like a token. I was tired of being the quote unquote only Black girl when I knew that I wasn't the exception to the rule. And going to an HBCU obviously validated that I was indeed the rule, not the exception. But I had been treated like I was something special, not always special in a good way, for all of my life. And so by the time I got to my 12th grade year, dealing with certain folks who were coaches, but now principal of the high school, but we ain't gonna say no names, individuals like that, I just got to a place where I was like, I can't keep subjecting myself to this. And I remember, and I tell you, sister, all the time, you had a conversation with our parents and you were like, look, I got to deal with racism all of my life. I am not going to deal with it trying to get an education. And so you were very clear that you were going to an HBCU. But for me, I was still on the fence, not because I didn't want to go. I really did also want to go with Nicole to Spelman at that time, but I just was like, I can't afford it, so I'll just go to Nichols. And then when she brought me over the Honors College scholarship application from her sister had received it, and she was like, well, she's not going to fill it out, so you can do it. And I did. And I mean, Southern came through like some champs, man, with the whole full ride, the Timbuktu Academy. I was like, I'm about this life. I'm about this getting paid to go to college life. Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. And so, that's why I needed that relief at that time.
Okay.
Well, I'll say this. I credit Jackie Malcolm. She was the junior counselor. There was the senior counselor whose name I can't remember, but she was pushing Nichols.
Mary Abel, that was her name.
Okay.
God rest her soul. But
and she
Mary
was pushing.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, she was pushing Nichols, and she didn't understand why, we wanted to get out of Thibodaux. I knew at a young age that I couldn't stay in Thibodaux. Only place I had ever been was DC. I was a first generation college attendee. There were a lot of people who I was around in church that had gone to Grambling, and like you, Christina, Grambling came through with the full ride. I really wanted to go to Spelman, but I only got a partial scholarship to Spelman. Jackson State, was also on the table. Southern was definitely on the table as well, but my uncle was like an assistant football coach there, so I wasn't going there. So Grambling, that's what it was. And I read a lot, and I knew there was for me a better life outside of Thibodaux that I wanted to achieve. And just going to Grambling, just, Dimitri, I think you used it earlier, liberating. I mean, it was shocking. It was wonderful. It was intimidating. It was all of those things at the same time, but it was the best experience of my life. And it definitely allowed me to come into who I am.
Fantastic.
Now, I
Now,
just wanted to let you know that Oliver said he's coming back. His power dropped, so he's coming back shortly.
yeah.
Okay.
So I know. So Nicole, you started at Spelman, ended up
Yes.
transferring to Southern.
Mhm.
Stephen, you started at Dillard and ended up transferring to Southern. So which one of y'all want to? I'm gonna go to the ladies first, and I'm gonna let you finish this up, Stephen. So Nicole, tell us about your story.
Well, I was fortunate enough to have to get out of Thibodaux and travel with my parents. We would go on vacation to different places, and so I was able to get out and see different things. Went to Cancun, Mexico. We used to go to Disney World, so I would go and see different places. So I wasn't confined just to Thibodaux, and so I saw these other places. And then it was a different world that actually drew me to Spelman, because I remember seeing it, and my dad was like, "That's Spelman College." He was telling me all about it, and I was like, oh, I was like, wow, I want to do that. And I remember when I went to Spelman, like Christy said, I met. It was crazy, because when you're at Thibodaux High, you are like this anomaly, like you're an exception to the rule. And then to go to a school where everybody is just as smart as you was just delightful, and we all were the beautiful shades and colors. It was like having a bunch of Christies everywhere. So it was just wonderful. I got a little buck wild in Atlanta, but like that never been out before. But it was a wonderful experience, and I would never ever take it back. I was able to to go and had a great time and transferred to Southern. And I ain't never had to, like, at Spelman, because we were all girls. We didn't care. All our classes were all girls. We used to go with our hair wrapped up the class, because we knew that we weren't going to take it down until we was going out, because we had to go over to Morehouse or Clark Atlanta. But at Southern, you had to have your fit all tight, like from the 7 o'clock in the morning. I mean,
All the time.
I was a fashion show. I was like, I got to go to the store and buy me some new clothes to put my hair. But just the experience, being around intelligent, wonderful Black women and men is wonderful. And so I wouldn't take it back for the world.
All right.
If I could.
All right. Well, Stephen Owens, you bring it in for the men. I know we're going to get our brother back on when we get the power situation adjusted. Y'all know I have a thunderstorm going on over me right now, too. So in the event that I have a situation, y'all just stay online, okay? Just don't go nowhere. Stephen, tell us about your journey.
Okay, yeah. I had I received a full scholarship to Nichols to cover everything. I mean, I think I probably would have had money left over. Went and visited in their engineering department, or pre-engineering department, and with my mom. We left out of there. My mom was like, "You're not going to Nichols. You're going somewhere else. You're not staying in Thibodaux." So, and I graduated undecided. When I graduated from high school in May, I didn't know where I was going. I kind of knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know where I was going. So ended up going to a summer program at Xavier. Dimitri, I think you were there too. SOAR.
I was in Howard Hughes. You were in SOAR.
Yeah, I was in SOAR. Yeah. So yeah, we were both on the campus at the same time though. But and that was awesome. Decided to go in engineering. Xavier wasn't trying to give up as much money as Dillard was, so I went to Dillard for the freshman year. Just ended up making a decision to transfer to Southern. And I think that was a great decision, just because of engineering, because of the engineering program at Southern was highly respected. Plus, I wouldn't have had to transfer to another university to finish my engineering degree, like I would have if I had stayed at Dillard. So it was a great decision going there. My first year was, kind of iffy at Southern, just because we had everybody there. It was, Haywood, Hewitt Lee, Greg Cook. They were already there. Then when I went, Eugene Fry, Alwyn Van Buren, Kenry Avery, Froggy, we all went there at the same time, and we had some fun.
That's why I did go.
We had some fun, but we kept each other. We held each other accountable. So, and that helped us all to just continue with our studies. And even if you hit a bump in the road, another one was there to pick you up and help us get across that hump. So to speak, Southern it's a hump to get across the the bridge. It's called a hump at Southern. And yeah. But we got across that hump, with our degrees. Most of us did, at least. And if we didn't graduate, we ended up with a great career anyway, just based on the support that we had amongst each other and amongst the people that we met at Southern too. And it was everybody that knows me knows I love Southern, and I speak it up as much as I can because it was a great opportunity, great people, made you learn how to handle your business, if nothing else. So and nobody took it easy on you. So, but it was awesome. So.
Yes. Well, thank y'all for sharing that little bit of background and how, really, HBCUs were such a formative part of all of our experience and coming into ourselves and coming into, the fullness of our beings, because we, I knew I was going. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I don't know if people really understand, the psychological gymnastics that you're dealing with when you're dealing with implicit bias, explicit bias, and you're dealing with it during your education process and all of that. So it was like, I got to do something else. And it served us all well. So kudos to all of you, and special shout out to Miss Jacqueline Malcolm, because yes, if it wasn't for her, so many things in part of she was a teacher in the 8th grade. So she was one of my 8th grade teachers. Then she became one of our counselors in high school. And if it wasn't for her, many parts of our high school matriculation and just awareness about certain programs and opportunities we wouldn't have had, because that other lady wasn't trying to even inform us of what our GPA and test scores could afford us as seniors in high school. But I'll just leave that there.
Well, I have to say, you shouted out Miss Malcolm, but Miss Malcolm was not there when Nicole and I were coming through. She was there our sophomore year, but then I believe she retired. Mm-hmm. And so we had to deal with Mary Elizabeth. And but
Miss Dupree came.
But we had Miss Dupree.
Dupree.
And she was the sophomore counselor, but that's who we went to, even though we were in 12th grade. And so shout her out as well.
Yes, Miss Dupree. Miss Dewey was the civics, civics teacher.
I think she did free enterprise.
Free enterprise, but Miss Dupree, yes, shout out Miss Dupree for holding it down. All right, Mr. Oliver Queen is back. What's up? Woohoo! You back? You back?
Yeah.
You get to the good part, and it was like, what happened?
Yeah, had a little power surge. It's all good though. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna get into the hot topics, and we're gonna talk. Okay. We're gonna get back into your legacy at Thibodaux High School in a little bit, and but let's talk about. So we got a lot of hot topics here tonight. We know that election 2020, it ends on Tuesday, November 3rd. Woo! Oh, no, y'all not as excited as I am.
I mean, election. Yes, I'm very excited. Election ends, but the work begins.
Right.
I gotta show y'all my shirt. Let me go get it. Hold on. I need my shirts to vote. I'll be right back.
Okay, go get your shirt.
Well, am I the only person that's nervous?
No, you are not.
Okay.
No, you are not. But so tell us why you're nervous, Makiva.
I'm nervous for the outcome. I mean, we're all very divided. I mean, we've always been divided. I think this just is illuminating that. But I'm nervous for what I think is going to be some civil unrest.
I'm nervous too. I am too. Yeah,
I'm not.
I understand that.
So you know what's interesting? So the wonderful poet known as Plies have this post on
Negro poet laureate.
Negro poet laureate Plies had this post on Instagram, and it was so profound. And he talked about how he, ran into a white woman, and they were having a conversation, and he asked her, did she think there was going to be any unrest as a result of if Donald Trump loses the election? And she said, no, if he loses, yeah. And he was like, yeah. She was like, yeah, she think that if he loses, there would be some unrest. And then she asked him, that he kind of flipped the question and was like, well, do you think there will be unrest if Joe Biden wins? And Plies was like, yes, but not for the same reason.
Right.
He was saying how, no, I flipped it wrong.
Yeah.
He said if
He was
Trump
saying
wins,
in both circumstances,
if Trump wins, there would be violence because he felt that the people would taunt other people, in that instance. And then if he loses, they would be so mad with their vitriol. So, and his question was, if in either case we think there's going to be violence, isn't that enough to tell us that that's the wrong person?
Yeah.
right.
And I thought that was very powerful, because it's like whether he wins or he loses, his supporters are going to act a fool.
Yeah.
And what that might look like. So I don't know. Oliver, you said you're not concerned about unrest. Tell us about your point of view, but you also have a military background. So tell us your
You might be a sharpshooter.
I don't know.
So, Sun Tzu once said, in the midst of chaos, there's also opportunity. So if the biggest thing that we see in this chaos is
that's the art of war.
I'm like, art of war. Okay.
But yeah, so the biggest thing is what opportunity comes out of this chaos, either way it goes, right? So if we truly want to galvanize ourselves as a collective, as Black people, that chaos will do that, right? Because that's kind of what happened during the Civil Rights era. That's what pushed Black people together to recognize our excellence and start expanding, and Tulsas and the Harlems of the world started to spawn. And then when they recognized that we recognized our excellence, they started trying to take that away and separate us and pit us against each other. So this is another one of those opportunities. Now, the worst thing you can do is to have us become galvanized and collective as a people and start to pool our resources again in this age, right? And then weaponize their own rules and regulations against them, which is why I love where I came from in my background, because I don't look at things as simply as they are. Everything I look at has a strategic end goal in mind, right? I didn't have the great fortune of going to an HBCU like most of you here on the panel. I'm an infiltrator. I went to their institutions, right? I went to see how they learn and see what they're saying about us being in the midst of that company. And then I used that to weaponize that and arm, my kids and every kid I can get a hand on, and person I can get a hand on with that information so they can use it as a weapon, as a tool against them. But the chaos is going to come either way. We just got to be ready for the opportunities that come in the aftermath of it. That's it.
All right. Well, we got some comments here. We got Jody saying her anxiety is high, will get higher. She's nervous. Denise said that she's nervous. Someone else, Patrice, says that election results may take around 2 to 3 weeks to be finalized. We all need to be very patient in the weeks to come. I don't disagree with that. Nashana says we were sucker punched 4 years ago. Anything can happen, and that makes me nervous. Adele says, I read an article about the notion that there will be civil unrest and how people are prepping, not only buying guns and ammo, but stocking up on food and supplies. We have Lakeisha saying, I'm so shook up, seeing what's on my social media page and the people of color who are making up reasons why they are voting for orange. let's see. She also says having to cancel events in Texas because of his thugs, and he's tweeting about it. And then she says, "Oh, I'm an infiltrator too." Yes, but so we did our own infiltration too. Because yes, we went to HBCUs, but that only took us through a certain part of our life. I know that I ended myself, Makiba and Christina. We also have a second degree from that other school in New Orleans that starts with a T. I'm gonna just leave it right there.
You can say Tulane. I paid a lot of money to say Tulane.
I'm still paying a lot of money.
All right.
They do not get any money from me, but you can say their name.
Correct. All of the above. And then Nicole also went to Pepperdine as well. So she infiltrated twice over there at Pepperdine.
The military is going to have to drag him out of office when he loses. That's what somebody says. Green Wave. Yes, the Green Wave. Kiana, you went to the Green Wave too, I think. Yeah.
Yes, she's a Tulane grad. Yeah.
So,
when we wore this shirt right here. Okay, hold it. Can you see it? Okay, it says vote.
Yes.
And then it says
it's the tide.
Move stubborn
orange.
So us in Trump country go to vote with these shirts on. Oh my, you should have seen the looks. Just walked up in there when I vote. Yep. Mm-hmm. You got your Trump sign on your house?
Well, yeah, they're very bold and blatant, but I think when the Trump supporters are, but when the Harris Biden, the Biden Harris, it really should be Harris Biden. But anyway, when the Biden Harris signs come out, they act a fool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we know that it ends on November 3rd. So if you have not voted, you need to make sure that you get to the polls. If you have already early voted, please make sure you check the status of your ballot. Go to your supervisor of election in your local area to check the status of your ballot. Because in Texas now, I just saw, because it was being debated this weekend. So Stephen, you can chime in, where Harris County instituted a drive-through voting system for people because of the risk of COVID. So where they actually presented their information, received their ballot, and were able to fill it out in their vehicle and then turn it right back in. So that was actually being challenged by the Republican Party. They've lost that challenge. But what are you thinking about the chances of?
Yeah,
it's not completely lost. It's not completely lost.
Okay, I thought
the
it
same
was
group. The same group of Republicans filed another lawsuit, a federal lawsuit. So that is going to be heard tomorrow morning by a very conservative judge. So you got to keep praying or whatever you do, and hoping that hoping that Harris County wins in that case. So hopefully it just gets thrown out completely, like the Texas State Supreme Court threw or denied that lawsuit twice this weekend. I think Friday and then again today. The Texas Supreme Court is 100% Republican, and they sided with Harris County allowing drive-through voting. So that tells you that it must be something valid.
Right.
The Harris County Republicans work with the Harris County clerk, who is the person that's over all the elections in the county. He's a Democrat. He's a young Black man. Went to Morehouse College, member of Omega Psi Phi, and he came in May and instituted all of these opportunities to vote, for people to vote, including the drive-through voting. The drive-through voting was vetted he worked with Republicans and said, hey, what do we want to have so that we can, so that you can approve this and agree with this and won't have any problems come October. And come October, because it ended October 31st. And they were okay with it eventually. They said, hey, we'll implement your suggestions. And now in the end of October, the last couple of days of October, they decided to file this lawsuit to try to block it. And it got, like I said, it got blocked by the Texas Supreme Court. Hopefully this federal judge has some sense for a change, and he denies their petition. So, and we'll see. But I mean, we even had a day of 24-hour voting, Thursday into Friday. So this young brother named Chris Hollins, I got to say his name. He came in and did a great job in this county of 4.7 million people. So,
wow.
Yeah. So he did a great job, and I hopefully, like I said, tomorrow morning, be watching Twitter because hopefully this judge throws his case out the day before the election.
Well, folks, that's why depending on how that goes, that's over 100,000 people who then would have to figure out how to show up on Tuesday so that their voice can be heard. And there's no other group out there that is doing that level of suppression. So that's why your vote and your voice matters, because only time somebody try to take something away from you is when they know that there's power in it.
Yep.
So
also in New Orleans, I just saw earlier today, the mayor of New Orleans tweeted that there's a possibility that 11 polling locations will not have power. And the Secretary of State of Louisiana has not provided the generators that he promised to go to all of the locations that were without power because of the hurricane. So as of today, she's still fighting with them to try to get those generators. I mean,
and I think that's what is so hard, just so annoying to me. So if you say about being nervous or concerned, I think my concern, if you will, is just like the extent that folks will go to cheat. And I'm just like, listen, if your dude is as tight as y'all say he is, let him run on his merit. Yeah, you don't have to cheat, right? Just do what let him run on his merit, and let it be that. But it's like all of this cheating that has to be done. And it started years ago, but even from, Brian Kemp in Georgia being the Secretary of State, suppressing the votes and then becoming the governor, all the way up to, as we were talking about earlier, Brett Kavanaugh putting out briefs with wrong information out there. It's like from the lowest levels all the way up to the Supreme Court, we are dealing with the Supreme Court that's supposed to be, nonpartisan, by the way. We are dealing with this level of cheating and thievery, and I just don't understand why anybody wants to still be associated with this guy. I just don't. And guys like him.
Well, it's all about the power, though. That's what they're fighting for. They're not fighting for America. They're fighting to maintain the power the founders left for them. Right? You have to look at this country is designed to be exactly how Trump is revealing it is today.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's by design that they're doing this, and this is their last ditch effort before they recognize the power dynamics, the whole demographic things in 2030 shift, and they become in the minority, which is one question I have asked repeatedly to colleagues. If you guys are concerned about being a minority in 2030, what's so bad about being a minority when you're telling me that we got it better than we had it, back in the day? So
right.
I had a candid conversation with one of my friends who's not African American, and her answer to that question is, we are absolutely afraid that the majority will treat us like we treated them.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
She was very candid. I mean, she's a lovely person. I love her to death. But we do have very candid conversations about race and politics.
Girl, you see my face right here.
Look. It's a journey. It's a journey with me.
Because here's the thing. Their ways are not our ways.
Exactly.
Yeah, because listen, if it was gonna pop off,
It would have popped.
It would have been popped
a long time ago. We have been the majority before. We could have popped a long time ago. And so if we haven't popped at this point, but that's the mindset. Because you low down.
Okay, breathe, y'all. Y'all just breathe. Let that one out.
Just say, because you low down and dirty, you expect the same behavior. But that is who you are. That is not who I am, or that's not who we are.
Right.
Well, I don't know, and let me say,
Not her specifically. I'm just
yeah,
saying.
no, but and I want to say this to be clear. I don't necessarily think it's not everybody is low down and dirty, and I don't think it comes from an evil position. But I think it's like Oliver said, it's the power. So when the power dynamics shift, then that creates a bit of a fear in people for whatever reason. Some people are very malicious in why they want the power, but
But
some are just.
I thought they said white privilege don't exist though.
Well, it depends on who you talk to.
I mean, because I get confused because it's like which way you want it. Y'all not privileged because you work so hard, but then you afraid. What is it? Like which one? Like all the duality and hypocrisy and the being on. There ain't no both sides and all sides. It's like, are we on the side of humanity or not? That's kind of where I end up landing on it. So I don't know what you
But
think.
if humanity intersects with their capitalism, then no, they're not on the side of humanity.
Girl, but
They're on
that's
the side
not
of
humanity. They're on the side of capitalism.
exactly. But they don't.
You can't be humanity and a capitalist at the same time.
But then I think that falls into then when you're saying, well, it's not all because of them having sort of malicious intent, then it kind of sounds like it is. It kind of sounds like that means because for capitalism, and I'm not saying I have a problem with capitalism, but I do have a problem with it being at the expense of the environment, at the expense of people who have less than you have, at the expense of every single aspect of our society, but what benefits you.
Well, I don't think people understand that honestly until they walk. They're not able to have the empathy for other people. So you don't understand. The fact that I'm poor because you've never been on food stamps, so you don't understand what it's like for that. I mean, I had an attorney who came into court, and he is a staunch Republican, and this was before this is when Obamacare got passed, and he was so thankful for Obamacare because he had gotten kicked off his insurance for pre-existing conditions, and so he comes into court saying, "Oh, I'm a supporter of Obama now." But because he understood what it felt like not to be able to get covered by health insurance. And so Obama gave him a reason to support. He could understand that. He was in their shoes. He was in the less fortunate shoes at that point.
I am challenged by that because we were just talking about people voting against their interests all the time.
All the time.
I am challenged by that because I wasn't on food stamps. Nicole wasn't on food stamps. I don't think every Black person hasn't been on food stamps, but we understand what poverty looks like because we done been places. Like, have you not walked outside of your bubble to see that there is a bigger world that exists out there? And therefore, it doesn't have. I think the frustration that I feel, because you had obviously hear it, is that if
even Fred Billazon said he's trying to comment and keep forgetting that we can't hear him.
Yeah.
I think the bigger thing is that Black people empathize more.
Right.
If we have to generalize that, and I don't want to get in generalities, but we're more empathetic because of all the things that we've gone through historically.
Right. And that's my point. If I just thought about me, I might be out here like this fool Lil Wayne, but I don't just think about me. I got to think about there are generations of children behind me. It's because I know the Olivers and the Alwins and the Freds who grow up and become magnificent men, but may not have started off with a silver spoon in their mouth. So it can't just be about me, but okay.
So since you brought it up, y'all call him. I thought it was Tanucci. Y'all told me I was saying it wrong, but I don't know what he is. I don't know what he said. He's been on Struggle Bus for me for a very long time. But first and foremost, I do not go to musicians for my political views. So there's that. But what y'all think about? Here's another one. At least Manny Fresh. Man, I shared it today. I had to post it today because Manny Fresh did a segment with Mark Morial on the Urban League. They did a little quick live thing. And I just had, at least we still got Manny Fresh. Because the rest of these fools, I don't know. What y'all think?
Not all of them, just some of them. I mean, because like you quoted Plies earlier. You got a young man out here in Houston by the name of Bun B. Y'all all probably know him
Yeah.
from
And we got
UGK.
Tobin in
And
say it for me because I can't even say it. All I know is they say we gonna be
in
on a
Wigwam,
first name basis with
right,
Beyonce. Hey.
right. Trader Truth.
Yeah.
Here's another one out here that's on the front lines. And the crazy thing out in Houston is those guys were out and about, when all of the protests were happening with George Floyd, who's a native Houstonian. Those guys were out in the forefront fighting for justice. They've been out trying to help get out the vote. Anytime there's a disaster, they go to Lake Charles. They were in Lake Charles. They're in New Orleans. They were in Louisville getting arrested, protesting for Breonna Taylor. Those guys they have sense. Lil Tunechi, Lil Wayne, 50 Cent, who seems to have changed his mind for whatever reason.
He's just commercial. It's all
Ice
about
Cube,
it's all
they
about
just don't. Yeah. 50 is all about making headlines. But those guys are a little lost, in my opinion. They're worried about their own tax bracket and keeping their money, and not about helping others.
So let's dive in that a little bit because I mean we got so much more things. I've been trying to pop up people's comments. The comments are hot right now. People are really talking. They're really involved in this conversation. But I do want to talk a little bit about that. You mentioned going to
Louisville.
So
Taylor.
this past week, this 2 grand jurors from the Breonna Taylor case spoke out. I don't know if y'all saw the interview with Gayle King. And since you got that good law degree from Tulane, I know you can give us, you don't know all the laws in all the states, Makiva, but you can tell us a little bit. But I know all of y'all have an opinion about this if you saw it. So 2 grand jurors, 1 black, 1 white, both basically said Daniel Cameron lied. They did not present all that evidence to them. They did not even present other charges to them other than the wanton endangerment of, you can hear the 911 and the audacity. If audacity was for sale in 2020, a whole bunch of people, I could be real rich right now, because the audacity of one of those officers to be suing her boyfriend because he shot. And it's clear when you hear his 911 call that he didn't know. Like, why the hell are you calling the police if you knew the police was busting in the door?
Right.
Nicole, I'm gonna go to you first. What you think about this?
I think it's sad. I think it's sad. And I think that to see, it just reinforces what we already know. It reinforces what we already know. We hope that it'll be different. It's on camera. It's on the phone. We can hear things happening. It's like, it doesn't matter though. It doesn't matter, and it's just really sad. And there's something to be said about the jurors coming out and speaking about this, and I know this whole thing is you can't be charged with the same crime twice, but I'll be damned, they need to go back. They need to see that this information was not presented fairly. It was not a fair trial. So should we go back and redo it? I mean,
well, the truth is, it was a grand jury investigation, so they never even went to trial. So I guess it's open that they can take it up. Yeah. So go, Makifa.
The Breonna Taylor case highlights exactly what I think a lot of people, when they get upset with verdicts, and the jurors speaking out highlight the fact that they weren't presented with all of the evidence. And a lot of times, when people aren't convicted of certain crimes, there's an outcry, but what we don't always know if we don't read the transcripts of those trials is what evidence was allowed to be presented, what evidence was thrown out based on some objection by opposing counsel. And so I think this highlights it. I'm glad the jurors are coming out. I don't know what will come from that, but the fact that they weren't presented with some key pieces of evidence because that's what what's his name, Cameron, chose to omit, and only wanted a certain charge. So I think,
Well, they were presented evidence. They weren't presented any other charges that they could bring.
right, but they weren't presented that evidence also that would
Right.
allow
So
those charges, those charges. So I mean, it's kind of like a piecemeal thing. He was very selective. I think he did it to appease he being the state attorney general, did it to appease a certain group of people, and now these grand jurors being able to speak out is really unraveling, his motives.
Mm-hmm.
They need to vote him out.
What's going to happen, Makiva?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
What do you think is going to happen? In your experience, what do you think will happen?
I don't do a lot of criminal law. I don't know at this point. I mean, I know the fact that the judge overruled. I know he tried to get the jurors not to speak out, and a judge overruled that. So hopefully there will be new charges. I think that is what a lot of the legal experts are probably trying to work on, getting new charges.
Okay.
But ask yourself the why. Why was this strategically done this way, right? Why would they? You think this wasn't just happenstance that the Attorney General of Kentucky purposely omitted evidence and blocked out certain charges? There's a reason why this happened, right? And how he works in concert with one of the biggest allies to Trump in Kentucky, which is Mitch McConnell, right? So
correct. All
this stuff is linked, and that's what we got to keep asking it, because that's where you find the truth at. You keep teasing away and tugging at these strings to try not only to find the truth, but also to find the connections to the truth. Because then once you find the links, then it's kind of like where Trump is right now. All the years of lying about his tactics and how rich he is, but that one little thread now, how you a billionaire owing almost $500 million, right? What billionaire does that, right? What person that's a self-proclaimed billionaire that owes that as a debt, not a debt to go buy some new property, but a debt that you need to pay back. You pay off because you wasn't paying your bills, right? So
to piggyback on that, there is a documentary on Netflix called Dirty Money about him, and it talks about all of his businesses and all and how things went with him and how he just cheated so many people. And there's another one with Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, that did the same thing.
The slumlord.
Right, with apartments in New York. So
and in Baltimore.
I watched it, definitely watch it.
Yeah.
Netflix, Dirty Money. I think it's the first episode, maybe the 6th episode. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, let's see what else we want to talk about tonight. Well, thank y'all for sharing.
You may want to share some of these comments because
I was gonna say, what are the comments saying?
Let's see. We got so many comments here. We got a lot, but we got a lot still to talk about, y'all. We
gonna have to go a little longer.
Okay, all right. Let's see what we got. Okay, so let's see. All right, I got to go through a bunch real fast. So it says they're in survival mode and need an unlevel playing field to survive. We got another one saying not being able to reconcile trauma they have inflicted has created a dissociative disorder that allows them to be comfortable with being privileged and pitied. I know you, Nicole, loved all of that with your psychology background. You loved all of them. Pregnancy was a pre-existing condition before ACA. Farm subsidies are the largest form of federal public assistance, but nobody ever called that welfare.
Talks about it.
And it goes to big farms.
And it goes to big farms. It goes to big agribusiness that is polluting our food. Tell the truth, shame the devil.
And the environment.
So we were poor, and my mom refused to accept government help, is what Fred said. Kiana says, yes, we do empathize more, but they empathize with them them dang dogs, though.
Yep.
Oh, they have the ability to empathize.
Do.
How about that? So many people view celebrities as credible sources of information, which is so unfortunate. Trey is definitely the truth. He talked about Tip and Big Mike. They out there saying some stuff. Trey is with Tamika Mallory and Unlimited Freedom. Somebody else says many folks also rely on YouTube as entertainment platform like the rest of us use Google. That part. And you talking about YouTube. People rely on Facebook as their source of information. And I'm like, can you just click on that link first and read the article?
Yeah, not the headlines.
Not the
headline.
Yeah.
We got another tip. Look, Tanya Hampton's in the building.
Hey, Tanya.
She said, yeah, maybe we need to include our pets. Black pet owners matter, maybe. Sean Campbell is in the house. She's watching. And then Fred has some comments about, you know, that they're trying to sue Kenneth Walker, which we talked about. And yeah, so that's what we have there. So other topic I wanted to bring out tonight. I want to this conversation, I want to talk to the ladies, but I also want to bring the men into this conversation too, because we see that. So Kamala Harris. So there's this intersection of this attempt to go after Black males and Hispanic males to support Donald Trump. And I kind of feel it's all because of strong women.
What you're saying.
And I see this conflict happening, and I'm seeing it even in the advertisements that I see on TV now. And so I want to talk about the burden of being a strong woman and really being a strong Black woman. And so my former assistant attorney general, who is a lawyer, I wanted her to start talking about this first, because we've had this conversation even online with, she was awful to Black men as a prosecutor, but then she's so liberal, people gonna just be running in the streets and doing something. I was like, well, she can't be like super cop and like Harriet Tubman at the same time and set my people go. Like, what is it? So what say you?
Well, what I said when people first came to me with the whole she put Black men in jail deal, she didn't make the policies. I think a lot of people, what people don't realize is when you're in a position of attorney general, it's the policies. So you have to look at your legislatures, you know, and she's only enforcing the policies that are enacted, the laws that are enacted. So to completely, you know, blame her for locking up all the Black men in California, I think that's a falsehood, and it shouldn't be perpetuated. But I think at the end of the day, there is a threat. And, you know, I don't mean to offend the males, but I think just Black women in general are a threat to everybody, you know, Black men, white women, we are the threat, you know, which is why we're always denigrated with the whole, she's aggressive, it's a dog whistle, you know, if you're standing up for your position, if you're a little bit more passionate, like Christina was a little bit earlier, you know, you're viewed as being aggressive. And, you know, I worked with someone in just a year or two ago, great attorney. I mean, one of the best. She is a bulldog, but she was constantly told by the supervisors to tone it down. But she was whipping everybody's butt. She was winning cases left and right, you know? And so where do we go? What do we do? And I think Christina said it earlier, we can't continuously check ourselves and monitor ourselves and moderate what we're going to say all the time just to make other people feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I don't think Kamala should have to do that. She is who she is. Her record speaks for itself. She was a prosecutor. I mean, what is she going to do?
Lose? Like, yeah, what's she going to do? Lose? No, that would not be the expectation.
That's not an option.
That's not an option. And they don't talk about the policies that she put in place to reduce truancy, to reduce recidivism, to put in other things in order to, because some of y'all did break the damn law.
Yes. Yeah.
How about that?
Yes, she did.
Yes. And I posed the question to a few of my male colleagues, and I was like, well, what if she was a defendant and got a whole bunch of Black guys off that didn't deserve to get off? Would you still see her in the same light? And they couldn't articulate that. They were like, well, if they just, so which one do you want her to be? And just allow her to be who she is. And then, if they do the crime, they do the time. But at least, like you've already alluded to, she put policies in place to, because what people don't talk about is when you get out of jail for the crime you committed, are there programs in place to get you back on your feet and put you back into society? She worked a lot with that to get that done out there in California.
And I can
Back on track
because
program.
when I lived in California, I actually worked with one of those particular organizations that when they got out, they had to come to treatment, okay, and to learn new skills, okay, to get in contact and get jobs and all those things. And there was a lot of resistance. I got more resistance from the black men than I did the white men. I can't tell you how many times I was like, brother, I'm trying to help you. I'm not trying to hurt you. Give me a break. You're killing me here, And it took some time, but it always came like, why are you coming at me like this? What's the problem here? I didn't do nothing. I'm trying to help you. Why are you so angry with me?
They just want to be free.
Same way if I was a white woman, probably not. So yeah. In California, they got their little 3-strike rule too. They have that whole thing where we're gonna give you another chance. We're gonna give you a whole another chance after that second one.
Right, something they had since the 70s, since long before 1994.
Right.
For Rodney King.
Yeah, and I think that the frustration for me is that Kamala Harris is qualified. She's actually more qualified than Joe Biden. She's actually we know she's more qualified than Donald Trump. Hell, I'm more qualified than Donald Trump. And
girl, Anubis is more qualified than Donald Trump.
Oh, what? Anubis, her dog.
Government pension girl.
Oh my God. and the same, and she's more qualified than Mike Pence. She's the only person who has worked on the state level, the
and
local
so was
level,
Hillary Clinton,
and so was
Barack Obama.
And so was Barack Obama.
But it's the same tactic that they use to try to take down. The same, just like Dr. Fauci. Now he was the most qualified guy in the world for COVID. Now he's not.
Right.
And Barack Obama, one of the most qualified presidents that we've ever had, until he wasn't. It's just. That's a tactic that they use to try to denigrate people that are actually in better position to bring about the change we need instead of the change they want.
Yeah. And I just, the frustration is that, so over the weekend, my cousin Bridget got me involved into this conversation she was having with this young lady who basically went on her page and was like, I didn't know, Dr. Scott, that you were a Biden-Harris supporter. And she had posted nothing. She had just posted like a map of the electoral map. That was it. And so anyway, I ended up getting into this debate with this girl. And I didn't realize until yesterday, because, Facebook only showing you all the messages. I didn't realize until yesterday that she had said what we hear so often, right? Joe Biden is just as racist as Donald Trump. She didn't say that. She said Joe Biden is racist. She didn't even say as racist as Donald Trump because she's a Trump supporter.
Right.
And I'm like, girl, first of all, okay. And so I responded to that. But then yesterday I saw where her justification for him being racist was that he only picked Kamala because she was a black woman. No, because she was black. That was what it was. And I was like, oh, girl, if I would have saw this yesterday, I would have read you fulfilled then. Okay, let me do it now and get up off of this point, because what you're not going to do is act like she's not qualified. What you're not going to do is act like, no, Joe Biden didn't pick her because she was black. He picked her because, unlike the person who's in the White House now, who considers himself a genius, and the only one who considers himself a genius, he knew to put people in place where he had people who have strengths that he does not have.
Right.
Where he is deficient, he leans on people who have strengths. Just like Barack Obama before him put Joe Biden in place because of the strengths that Joe Biden brought to the table. So it's like, it's not because she was white, she's black. I mean, not because she's black, and it's not because she's a black woman. It's because she is qualified, because she has strengths where he is weakened, because she understands the law on every level. Again, from the local level all the way up to the federal level. Oh, and by the way, she just happens to be fabulous anyway. So what you're not gonna do is you're not gonna do that because that's insulting to me as a black woman. And I was like, girl, I'm too overqualified to have this conversation with you.
Yes,
I don't have the
true.
strength for all those Facebook conversations y'all be having. That is,
You know what,
I love it.
Makiba, but it's because, and yes, Oliver loves it.
Yes.
Oliver be like, I got time.
Let me see. We got conversation. If she wouldn't be that forceful, then it would be she was weak and not strong enough for the position.
I'm
Yeah,
right.
you know,
You're
can't
right.
win for losing.
Right.
We tired of that manure. I'm showing up in full Katrina mood daily, and I will make no apologies about it. As a Black professional women, we are all at some point are under scrutiny, and it's sad. Someone said it's conditioning. Let's see. Okay, that's Sean and Fred private conversation. Let me go on down here. Brandy said even her kitten is also more qualified.
That's the ticket. Anubis and Brandy's kitten. Let's get it.
And that Supreme Court justice never argued a case in front of them and has only been a judge for a few years. That part. 45 is deficient in everything. Everything.
Absolutely. I read today this young woman posted she posted a Bible quote, but it was like the 6 things, no, the 7 things that God detests. And she went and it was a Bible verse. I was like, Trump hitting all 7. Wow. You are detested by God.
Let's see. Somebody, Denise Coop says, Oliver, I love you standing up on everyone's mom being stupid on Facebook.
Because they mama's coming out real strong. And that's the thing. That's why I think I go so hard and Oliver goes so hard. I don't want to speak for you, Oliver, but I think we go so hard in the paint because it's like, do you understand growing up in the dough how much we had to, whether we meant to do it or not, we still suppressed a lot of this stuff. We still picked a lot of battles that we could have fought and was like, that's okay. We're not going to fight it today. And now it's like we went to school and we have these educators teachers of ours who have come out and like I was saying earlier, they're not my Facebook friends because Facebook, it's like my house. I'm just not letting everybody in.
Right. I agree.
If you're
That's
a
how I
friend of
feel.
a friend, and I think you got some sense, I might let you roll in. But once you show me otherwise, no. But I see them real comfortable on my white friends' pages.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. Something needs to be said here. Let me jump in these comments.
Okay, let's take it a little deeper though. Okay, so some of us go home. I don't. A lot. Some go home more than others. But
I go home more than you, and I live a hell of a lot further away than
sure
you do.
I'm not gonna lie. It's very depressing. And I was having this conversation with somebody today when I was telling them I was coming on. It's very depressing to go home. I mean, when I'm at home, I go to see my family, and that is it. I'm in a very short block. It's just very depressing for me. But how do we? I mean, we know that the older people are gonna be how they are, but some of us still have classmates. And they're making these conversations. I've muted a lot of those people. I've unfollowed them. But how do we help, I guess, the next generation or the generation behind us outside of just making the comments on Facebook in order to, help them, be the activists in.
Well, you know what's very interesting, Makiba, and I'm going to say it like this, and then I'm going to let Stephen and Oliver and Nicole jump into this, and then I'll let my sister kind of come on back. Because you're right. One thing that was very interesting is having a conversation with our father when we talked to him in June on that episode about, I didn't think we would be having these same conversations that our parents had, right? I didn't think we would still be here, that we're recycling the same BS. Didn't think that was going to be. So that part was, especially because I know all the things that my father did and being the trailblazer that he was in our hometown, at Nicholls State University and in that whole surrounding area. So I just could not believe that we would still be here in the year of our Lord 2020. So that's one. Two, with our peers. What it reminds me of is the intellectual laziness and intellectual dishonesty. Because to be this age that we're at now, we've said our age, we said what year we graduated high school, right? For them to not understand or have no desire to learn the impact. Because see, they said they was our friends. No, you just knew us, but you wasn't our friends. Because if you were really my friend, you might have came over to my house and spent a night one time or two. How many of them came over to your house and spent the night? Now, see, we were the first Black family in our neighbor, in Layton, in that area. So, you know, now the Black people don't remember when we lived on St. Charles Street and don't remember me from the trailer park on St. Charles Street.
I do not remember you from St. Charles Street because I grew up on St. Charles Street.
I know, but that's all. But see, that's
I was born and moved straight into that trailer park too. I didn't know.
Right.
I didn't know.
Everybody forgets that part. I remember because we didn't move there until like 79. So my formative years was when Miss Queen used to take care of me next door.
Amen. God rest.
God rest. I love Miss Cat. So all I'm saying is, so the Black people didn't, you know, I know I wasn't Black enough either. But then white people, like, you would really have to be intellectually dishonest or intellectually lazy to think that we were really friends. I didn't get that comprehension until things started coming clear to me about 4th grade. That's when it became clear. It was early because actually it might have been 3rd grade, but it was either 3rd or 4th grade when someone we know, I'm not even gonna call her name, was like, she couldn't invite me to her, we were best friends, but I couldn't come to her birthday. I couldn't come to her birthday party because it was a sleepover because her daddy wouldn't let me come.
Yep.
Now how I'm the only one. So
you ain't, girl. I'm not. I'm saying yep. I had the same experience. I had to go home because the mama was coming home.
So, and Nicole, whose father was a doctor, mother a nurse, the Black doctor in the neighborhood, she couldn't.
Okay, now y'all could have led with that. Now I know who Nicole is. I mean, you could have led with that.
Lord, Makiva, we just been on the show for an hour.
Damn.
Trying to place her. I couldn't place her. I'm sorry.
Dimitri, little sister. That helps.
Yeah,
How about that? Okay, now you got it. God, no. But I'm just saying. So for them, it's like, I get it. Y'all you just fell into the same pattern. But for you to, like, at this age, to not start to see that, because who comes over to your dinner table? Who do you interact with outside of work?
Mm-hmm.
Who do you interact with daily at work? Not on a superficial level.
Right.
Because then if you see somebody struggling with something or in pain or any discontent, the normal human reaction is to have empathy.
Mm-hmm. Wait, so anyway, you gotta show Jenny. See, that's who I rocks with. That's the people who happen to be white that I rock with. I don't mess with all of y'all folks. I really don't. I think Fred is the last of the group that's trying to hold on to his friends. I'm like deuces. I rocks with Jenny. I rocks with Brandy. I rocks with Jess Falgu. It's a small group. I rocks with Candace Sewell. It's a small group.
Okay.
But I rock with
Dimitri. We don't rock with anybody. Do you still rock with anybody?
Adele George, who's watching.
George, who's on here.
Denise who is watching, is on here. Me, the whole Dennis clan.
The whole Dennis family.
Oh yeah.
The whole Dennis family. I rocks with the whole Dennis family.
Mickey Maggio.
Sarah Goff. I still rock with Sarah Goff.
Okay.
Milo Perkle, Oliver. He all right.
Well, Milo got mad, you know what I'm saying, because I wouldn't defend him for his views. That's not my place. When people when you make a statement and that statement sounds like some BS, you need to be man enough to articulate your point or back the heck off. He decided that he didn't want to do it. I unfriend no one that comes into my cipher. I let you do that on your own. Like, I will never press unfriend, because my thing is, if you have alternative motives and views, I'm gonna let you see me rise and grind. And if you say some stupid stuff, I'm gonna punish it right on the spot. you know, and then I'm gonna jump on somebody else's post to punish it right on the spot, you know. So that's just how I roll. But yeah,
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, but he left on his own volition, so that's all on him. Because my thing is, I purposely let people recognize the significance of their insignificance in my life.
Say that again. That was a word.
That was a sermon in a sentence. How about that?
Yeah, you know.
All right, Stephen. So I'm gonna let y'all take this from here because that is what so you really were asking, what do we do with the next generation? I know how I'm raising my children, but what it tells me is, based on what we see online, I also know how they're raising their children. So I don't know what the hope is for the next generation. I don't know what the hope is for the next generation when I have classmates who are in healthcare who have the freaking audacity to debate about wearing a mask, or because you're so much of a Trump supporter, you want to repost a video of a quack ass doctor, you know, and I'm like, you treating these damn patients like you know what the hell, and then you want to get into a debate with me about the science of it, and I'm like, bitch, I got a biology degree too. Like, just because I'm not doing that professionally, please do not come at me about science. I worked in pharmaceutical. I know how to read a package insert and understand about how a drug works in the body. Please don't play me.
I also don't know what to do with it, because today someone posted, I don't know, it's in a group that I'm in, but a young woman who lives in Houma who's had her son dress up as a police officer, and her husband decided to be his Democratic prisoner, who happened to have a black mask over his face. So he didn't paint it black. I guess that's not officially blackface, it's black mask. And she owns, I'm gonna say it, it's called Bayou Cakery, I believe, in Houma. So don't patronize it, because this is what she thinks. So what do we do? How do we impact that when you're indoctrinating your children with racism? And they can't, like somebody said, I mean, your kid was like, I want to be Captain America. Nope, you're gonna be racist today. That's your Halloween costume.
That's what we're gonna do.
But think about, again, right? I always ask, think about the why. Why are they consistently indoctrinating their kids to believe in the things that, you know, propel white supremacy into this age? Because that's how they maintain their legacy and their power, right?
They're afraid of losing it.
Right. And we need to be mindful that consistently at every generation, we got to be mindful of breaking the cycle, which is the thing that in raising our children is the main thing, you know, we focused on is, you know, how do you break the cycle? Because while I want my kids to recognize where I came from and respect where I came from and know where their heritage comes from too, we have a saying, right? We stand on the shoulders of those that have come before us so that we can see farther. So my dad never made it to my level. My kids, you know, it took me 14 and a half years to become an officer in the Navy. My kids, right out of West Point, they're already commissioned officers. So, you know, the thing is to kind of grow that thing and not just say it for the sake of saying it, but to manifest it so that, you know, my daughter's 21 with a $500,000 home. So, and that's the kind of stuff we want them to start doing instead of just, you know, sitting around postulating all day and nothing ever happens. So.
I love that. Stephen, what about you? How do you see that we break this this cycle for our children?
We break this cycle for our children. We can only control what we instill into our kids. Somebody else has to do that in their kids in order for it to work. Yeah, I mean, I was going to answer maybe not totally different, but I was going to come and get into more detail. But when you say how do we break this cycle for our children, we can't. I mean, it's we have to just continue being who we are, raising our kids the right way, having them be able to understand that they have better opportunities than we had. Even we had. I mean, we were in the 90s, but they still have better opportunities now than we had back then, which is not that long ago. And make sure that they take advantage of what they can take advantage of, but also keep a wary eye out for those who were raised a different way and who may act as if they're your friends, and then you see them 5 years later after graduating high school, and they're a Proud Boy.
Mhm.
They're empathizing with that type of behavior and those thought processes. How do you handle that? How do you keep yourself out of that, and keep yourself from getting frustrated to the point of proving them right, or their parents right, about how they feel about Black people and how they think people of your race should act or do act. So you just got to keep your kids on the right path. I'm fighting with my son now, one of my sons now, about what his choices have to be in order to get where he wants to be. He has his dreams, but his approach may be a little bit different than what I think is right. But
and we put so much
help him
pressure.
navigate it. Yeah.
We had so much pressure on us that was even annoying, and the pressure we put on ourselves and then are we doing our children a disservice by continuing to have that same light of pressure on them? Because it's like, damn, can they just show up and be themselves? Like, when is that going to be a good enough when we can just show up and be ourselves? Because all of us turned out pretty damn great. I mean, I'm just saying.
We did,
Right.
but we don't show up, and we haven't even been able to show up and be ourselves though. So again, if we're constantly fighting these things, these forces all the time, and we have to be responsible for our children, but they don't have to be responsible for teaching their children to break these same cycles, then I don't know how they show up fully and authentically.
So let me
go
ahead, Makiva, and then I'm gonna show some of the comments.
I've gotten older, I've actually shown up more. My authentic self. I had somebody tell me about 6 months ago, all I do is talk about race. I have a lot of Trump supporters in my office, in my old office, at the Attorney General's office. And I would hear them, they were always on Fox, and I would hear them, and I would go and offer them an alternative perspective. And, then we would kind of talk about it. But one of the Black guys, who had been the only Black guy in the office for years, was like, you always talk about race. You have to watch that. It's not good. And I'm thinking, but you never talked about race. Like, they never thought, like, he always drove an old crappy car. So, when I come in with a nice, decent car, they're like, oh, how do you afford that?
I'm sorry, about to say the F word on the dang old thing.
Like, and then they hire me who drives a nice car too, and they're like, ooh, how do you afford that? And I'm like, we can't live in the same neighborhoods, we can't drive the same cars that you drive.
You mean because we got good credit too?
So then I just, every opportunity that I would get, I use that to educate, in my own little space. And but 10 years ago, I wouldn't have felt comfortable about having those kinds of racial conversations. But now I'm just like, let's have it.
Yeah.
You want to be bold enough and audacious enough to watch Fox News in the middle of the break room work, and you want to talk about all of these things that are going on and these conspiracy theories? Let's talk about them.
That's all that was on in my office. Fox News.
Yeah.
All.
Well, let me throw some of these comments out here.
Sister, I do want us to get Nicole's opinion about it, because I think she had she also had even in Thibodaux, a very different experience from some of us.
Yeah. So God invented, God invented white masks. There was no excuse for that foolishness. Will be the same combo for our kids. If being married is the same argument over and over, being Black in America, trafficked child bride, didn't come voluntarily, and constantly seeking freedom. I guess so. I guess that's who we are, right? So blackface is never okay, not under any circumstances, period. We can break the cycle by being loud and saying things when we need to. Silence is another form of complacency. Speak, hold your ground no matter what. I, as a white woman, am trying my best to raise a thoughtful, empathetic daughter. I sent her to a public school in New Orleans where she was the minority. She is 15 and stands up and fights for her friends. I'm having those battles with my 16-year-old daughter now. You all know my choices were different back then, but through experiences and life, growth came. We have another comment. My children attend primarily white institutions, so I monitor their friends' parents' pages. I am making sure we are like-minded, and if they have shown empathy for what's going on in the world. And said, again, my daughter was raised in a different household, and now with everything that's going on, she's in constant emotional struggle because her household is 45 supporters and their actions don't show their love for her, if that makes sense.
That
Exactly.
sadly makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then Obama said it best. That's what I do. Hey, how about that? So Nicole, let's get your experience, and then we're going to get into our kind of closing remarks and round everything off tonight.
Well, I had the same experience insofar as I was at one of my friend's house. I think it was in maybe 7th grade. And I was at her house, and I would go to her house. She lived down the street, walk down the street to her house, we're playing or whatever. And one day she told me I had to go home. And I was like, well, why? She's like, my mom is home. And I was like, so your mama come home? I didn't no compute. So I was like, okay, I walked home and I said, Mama, such and such told me that I had to go home because her mama was coming home. And she was like, you are never going over to her house again, ever going over to her house again. And that is when I actually had the discussion about race with my mother. Why did she do that? Why would she say that? Why would she do that? And, my mother did not tell me to hate white people. Okay. She did not teach me that. She told me her experience and why things are the way that they are. Okay. So I could understand and move forward and be aware. And Fred, I totally understand what you're saying, because I actually mentor this little girl who is biracial, and she has no clue about things. And I am the one that tells her. I tell her. And so, she's not my child. I did not birth her, but I refuse to allow her to walk around as a part of us and not know what's going on. I'm like, okay, let me talk to you about this. Okay, sit down right here. Let Mama Greenwood talk to you, because she wouldn't know. She would not know. And she would have her feelings hurt and destroyed if she went into a place thinking that it's okay to be me and it's not. Even one example, her father, we were talking one day, and her father said that he preferred white women. And you know what she said? Daddy, you wouldn't date me? I said, oh my God, Jesus. I couldn't believe that he did not have enough wherewithal to not even think to say that in front of her. He can do whatever he wants. But do you understand, your child, you are telling your daughter that she's not good enough for you. You're telling that that you would not date, that if you were her age, you would not date her. And she got problems, which is why I see her, and she has daddy problems because he has no idea. And her mother can only do so much, but she's not us. But I have to tell her, and I've taken that on. And even at the middle school that I work with, I'm like, listen, come here, let me talk to you. Come here, let me talk to you. Let me tell you what you're doing right now, the behavior that you're doing, what this means to all these other people around here. Okay. And just try to help them understand, because they don't. I don't know why some people are not teaching their children, what they need to be teaching them. Yeah, but I am concerned for the kids. I'm concerned for the biracial children, insofar as understanding their Blackness.
Oh, that's very, very, very deep, honey. You went real deep on that one. I didn't know we was going that deep, but it needs to be said. So, back to the question. So how do we move forward, and what do we really do? I think we continue to show up excellently. I mean, I think all of us have proven and shown up excellently, and maybe it's part of our HBCU experience. And I think also part of it is we were already excellent. We just needed that additional secret sauce sprinkled on us so that we could be that little
tone.
Yeah, little tone is on that, girl. Slap your mama. What a so we were already excellent, and we know that many others had different experiences.
Yeah.
Because maybe somebody didn't do that little slap on them. They didn't get that little extra seasoning thrown on them. But I think we all it the greatness was already there. And so I think we just have to continue to be great, and we have to be willing to have these honest conversations. So like you said, Makiva, you have really honest conversations with someone. Then we have to keep having these real honest conversations, because that's the insidiousness of privilege. You don't ever have to empathize or look at somebody else's worldview or have anybody else's experiences. And so that's all we've ever known. Therefore, we have to always be able to challenge ourselves in that way and expand our worldview and our thinking. And because we don't have that, we've never had that luxury. So now our brother Oliver had a hard stop, so he had to drop off. So we wanted to thank him for joining us tonight. We really enjoyed having him. But I want to go around, and we're going to start with Stephen, since he's holding it down for the brothers now. What do you want to say in closing? We thank you for joining us for these hot topics. We had a few more hot topics we wanted to get to, but I don't want us to be on here all night, because y'all, we could probably talk all night.
We'll have to do this again.
We're going to have to do this again. But what do you want to say in closing to the folks who out there are watching, and the folks that are from the Thibodaux holding it down? And anything that you want to say in closing tonight?
Just go vote. Go get everybody you know to vote, and vote for the right people. This year, it's vote against Donald Trump. And I'm not going. I mean, I'm not a preacher. I'm not I don't know anybody who's not supposed to give a political endorsement. So vote for Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Vote in your local elections. Vote the people out that you're complaining about, that are not doing their jobs. Hold them accountable. And get all your people that are, whether they're in Louisiana, in Texas, Florida, California, Arizona, wherever they may be, get them to vote, and just go hard. Stand in those lines. I'm sure there are going to be long lines. I know in Houston, there are going to be long lines. In Atlanta, long lines. Everywhere in Florida, I'm sure. Those are areas that the vote is trying to be, or they're trying to suppress the vote. Go out, support those people. If you can go take them some snacks, take them, whatever. If they stand in line, go. If you already voted, if you have time, go out and support those folks who are in line, who can't leave. They want to go vote, and take somebody to the polls with you if you can. If you know somebody who hasn't voted, that's my thing right now. So.
All right, well, Stephen, we got to have y'all back, because we didn't even talk about y'all TAs, the legacy that we left behind at Thibodaux High School and all that good stuff. We had so many more things to talk about, but right now voting is important. And somebody says Thibodaux needs a new mayor as well. How about that? Okay, Nicole, going to you. What's your closing remarks for the this evening?
Well, first, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm really enjoying this. But I just want to say, everybody, you're enough. You are okay. And you allow and let your light shine. Don't ever let nobody put your light out. And if you need somebody to help you light your candle back up, we're here. We are here. But you are enough. And like Stephen said, please go out and vote. Our voices will be heard. And I'm just gonna have to hurt some people's feelings this year, the rest of the year, and we hurt people's feelings. They just gonna, just gonna say sorry and move on. But thank you, I appreciate it. But you're enough, and love yourself and love your people enough to tell them that they're enough too.
All right, Makiva.
Well, again, I want to say thanks for having me. I'm going to piggyback off of Stephen and Nicole, who I finally am glad I identified. go vote, but also remember politics is local. There's a lot of local initiatives and a lot of local policies that matter in terms of, what goes on in your community. So pay attention to those. It's important, yes, to vote Donald Trump out, but it's also important, like I think Fred said, Thibodaux needs a new mayor. There's probably some other amendments that need to be voted on. Make sure you read up on those before you get to the polls. But the second thing I want to say, and which I think is a key takeaway, is diversity matters. I think what you experience and who you experience it with, shows, allows you to empathize, have greater empathy for people in situations and things like that. So if you are in Thibodaux and you only have Black friends, or you only have white friends, and you only eat at one restaurant a month, step out of your comfort zone. Try to befriend somebody else, and go to their house for dinner, invite them for dinner, see if they'll come. If they won't, don't come, then
and wear a mask.
Well, after COVID, but
Girl, we don't know when after COVID gonna come, because this fool running around the country spreading COVID to people all over the damn country.
But just try to diversify yourself, diversify your circle. I mean, I've learned the importance of diversity since I left Thibodaux at 17 and really haven't returned home. But just different places that I've been, different people that I've met, I think has allowed me to become, the person that I am today.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. I love that. Mm-hmm. Sister, do you want me to go first, or you want to go first?
You can go first. I'll go last.
Okay. So I love that what you said about diversity matters. But one of the things I say in a workshop that I do is actually diversity is the starting line. Because that doesn't get us to inclusion and acceptance. That just kind of gives us the basic exposure. So I definitely know that we in the year of our Lord 2020, we need to go further. We need to be willing to go further. And we need to be willing to be uncomfortable. Some of y'all stay in bad marriages for a long time. Y'all could have this conversation. This is easy compared to that. How about that? So I want to say that, but the first, I really want to say thank y'all so much for coming on. I really enjoyed this. Like I said, we could probably go all night long and have if we had a big production company, this show would have been broken up into part 1 and part 2, and all of that stuff. For all of the Thibodaux folks represented in the comments, I see Fred, Stacy Carr, Kiana, Denise, Adele, let's see who else was from Thibodaux, Tanya, and
Sean, Brandy,
Maggie, Brandy, all of these people who came in and represented for Thibodaux tonight. Thank y'all for joining us. We hope that this was just a window into our life experiences, because I think one of the things when I talked about people we know being intellectually lazy or intellectually dishonest, I don't think anybody ever asked us how we really were doing growing up. I don't think they ever really asked. We were all in the same honors classes, all in the same activities, but I don't think, amongst ourselves, we had conversation of what our life experiences and what we were really experiencing. But I don't think one person really ever asked that question. And so I'm glad that you all are here and that we're able to continue this conversation as we've gone into adulthood and into this part of our lives, because I think we're all shining examples about, it's not where you start, it's where you finish.
Yeah.
Sister?
Well, I would say, first of all, again, thank y'all very much. I know it feels like it's overstated. We've gone over 30 minutes, almost 40 minutes now over what we normally do. And that's because it's just been so enriching to have this conversation with people who knew us back then. That is always a very warm and fuzzy thing. So I really do appreciate you all taking the time and taking extra time to be a part of this. I think in closing, to Nicole's point about you are enough. We are indeed enough, but we have also dealt with a lot of things that if we as we are getting older, maybe we are going to counseling or seeing therapists or, having
Working with a life coach.
working with a life coach or what have you. We are realizing how a lot of those experiences growing up have impacted us even through adulthood to the point where we are now. And so, one of the things that I would say with regards to our hometown specifically, and we've talked to Miss Murray about things that she is trying to do. We have to have those conversations. Yes, those honest conversations, but people have to be open to those conversations. And one of the things Jenny emailed as an example, when I said, oh yeah, I'm going to be coming home, she's like, she's always cooking. Like she posts some beautiful meals on the Instagram. I was like, I need to come over to your house. She was like, yes, please come. I'll invite Jess. We can have some dinner. We can sit by the pool, what have you. That doesn't happen for many of us. That doesn't happen for many of us. So it's like, if you can't start there to have those honest conversations, and listen, I may not always come across, I'm coming across passionate because I am passionate, because I live this every day. So if you have Black friends who are coming across passionate and they're telling you, this is how I feel, respect how they feel, because to Fred, to see him have his friends in the comments say some of the things that they've said to him, it's like, no, that's not friendship. And that those people need to be let go of. The real friends, they will rise to the occasion and they will know and they will show you who they are. So when somebody told him the other day about, you've changed, you've let politics change you. And I had to come back and say, no, you've let politics reveal who you are. You've let politics reveal your true character. We gonna love on the ones who understand and who are allies and friends and want to learn and who want to be intellectually curious. And the others, we are enough so you can fall by the wayside.
And with that, we are signing off for tonight. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Hey Sister. I'm going to ask all of you all to hold the line and just say good night, everybody.